Welcome to the Enterprise Fleet Summit. Today, we are joined by Deepti Yenireddy, CEO of Boon. Welcome to the summit, Deepti.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here today.
I am excited to get into this today. This is kind of a common theme running around the supply chain right now, and that's kind of the introduction and implementation of AI. But before we get too far into that, let's get some background on you and kind of how you started at Boon.
Yeah, happy to share this story. Prior to Boon, I used to lead telematics and international product development at Samsara. Before that, I was a founder again, built and sold another company building conversational AI for HR. But while I was at Samsara, I saw firsthand how critical logistics and supply chain are to our day to day lives. From the food we buy at the grocery store to the ambulances that we see on the streets, these fleets help make our entire economy flow. And even though these customers are helping to ensure our holiday gifts get delivered on time this season, and their supplies show up in case of emergency, they've been largely overlooked by tech. These are the heroes of our country, backbone of our economy. So we started Boon to support them. So our entire team has over 100 years experience with supply chain and logistics. And because they are underserved and we spent tons of time thinking about them, we started Boon with a single mission to create an AI agentic platform to provide an AI workforce for these companies to, number one, connect their systems, and number two, automate workflows between them.
If that isn't the most accurate thing I've ever heard, that supply chain and transportation is a little lacking in the transportation space, considering not even 10 years ago, I was having to fax a BOL to somebody. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I have to fax you a BOL because that's just how we have to do things. Okay. And I mean, I will say that it's come a long way, but there are still some of those instances where you're like, oh, I guess I have to go find like the one copier in the office that's hopefully still hooked up to a fax machine. Otherwise, like, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do this, or like, I have to go find a website that will convert a PDF into a fax or something. So I definitely love that there are these solutions that are coming to the table. And there are some companies and there are some carriers that are really, technology forward, and that's obviously not them, but I would say that that's not necessarily always the majority.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this moment, everyone is curious and thinking about AI, but enterprise fleets are under more pressure than ever.
Hmm.
Labor shortages, rising operating costs, tighter margins are making them think about this more seriously. And AI has matured tremendously just in the last couple of years, right? It's no longer about experimenting with chatbots. Companies can now deploy AI agents that actually handle quoting, dispatch, invoicing, BOL, POD collection, as you mentioned, all those repetitive rule based work. Because waiting too long means falling behind competitors who are already seeing real operational gains. We are seeing many enterprises with top down mandates, in fact, from their boards or CEOs of deploying AI, given how much impact AI has on productivity. It's almost immediate. You see 5 to 10x efficiency gains with just about anything AI these days, which could be browsing daily fuel prices, discounts, and driver routes to suggest the most optimal stations across state lines within a few miles of their daily route, saving both time and money. Like one of our customers, which is a specialized carrier transporting building materials, saves an average of $5 to $7 per truck per day with fuel recommendations. That may not seem like much, but across an entire fleet, this is huge, especially when fuel is one of their top costs. And most fleets don't even do that now. It requires navigating multiple systems while providing drivers on the road information they need to make the best choices. So AI has the superpower to increase how much information these fleets can gather and how fast they can act. So a lot of it is becoming now, and we see enterprise fleets thinking about it actively.
I think that it almost kind of makes the most sense for an enterprise fleet to take up the AI mantle. Obviously, they are getting all of this pressure. It's the new hotness in the industry. They want to keep up with those kind of industry standards, or those things that are becoming industry standards, whether the shippers are requiring it, whether their broker partners are requiring it. There's still that kind of the need for certain things, and that's where AI can lend itself very nicely. And something else that that I think really plays nicely into the enterprise fleet summit of it is that the it's not just like you're not just implementing AI for the sake of implementing AI, which, as we all have seen over the past year or so, everyone that's just implementing it for the sake of implementing it has really just spent a lot of money to do nothing. But those that have really kind of identified a root cause or a root problem that this could solve, it frees it up a lot. I know one of the most successful stories that I've heard is people who have had it perform check calls, perform other stuff that operations support usually does, kind of those entry level roles in an organization. They have really kind of taken that over, where maybe you might only need 2 or 3 operations support people to just work the exceptions, work the outliers. Because unfortunately, it is transportation, and it is supply chain, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to go off without a hitch. There's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be something. But if you can sit there and just to dedicate your resources to the exceptions, to the things that aren't going to go right, but then like 90% of everything else that you don't have to touch. If I don't have to touch that, that frees up an entire team, or 2 or 3, depending on how big your organization is, to say, okay, well, we have all of this automated. We need to put you guys on something else that, does require more brain power, is something that maybe we're looking to automate in the future, but, we're not there yet. So we need to kind of have you jump in and do more for the organization that requires that complex thought. That's something that, it's going to take a minute. And then that potentially creates a team of people that's kind of your figure out how to automate it kind of people. Like, they're constantly figuring out how to automate stuff in the organization. Obviously, that's like a couple years down the road, but the easiest wins I've seen so far are those operations support, some of those easy kind of mind-numbing back office tasks that you already have high turnover in those positions, because it's not necessarily like fulfilling, but you do need to understand the industry. So I do like that that seems to be kind of where people are gravitating towards, and starting with those kind of operations.
Absolutely. AI delivers, you said it perfectly. AI delivers the most immediate value where it aligns with your most pressing business challenges. And it could be operations, it could be billing and invoicing, some of those core back office functions. Um, but more importantly, I think, what's changed in the last couple of years is not just the technology, but the approach of deploying it and understanding the use cases with every business. So, in the past, legacy software forced businesses to conform to rigid frameworks, a single product trying to serve every customer the same way. That often meant compromising on what actually matters to your operations. Um, AI and especially large language models flip that dynamic. So, today, we can tailor intelligent solutions around customers' priorities, your priorities, not generic use cases. So, starting with your systems, AI can work as an employee with these systems and automate work. This is the most common and immediate value when it comes to AI. So, the lift to get started is much easier. There's no switching of systems that anyone needs to do. And everyone in the supply chain and logistics industry works with disparate systems. So, our autonomous integration agents actually connect our customers' various systems together and create this unified data set on which you can run any agent, any algorithm you'd like. So, that gives us the ability for us to now say, when we work with large carrier shippers or logistics companies, the first question we ask isn't where can we use AI? It's what are the most important problems to solve for you right now? AI becomes really powerful when it's applied in context, shaped by your data, workflows, and goals. So that is the first step. And then the next step is being able to get to high accuracy levels with a combination of models and even playing one model against another, what we call LLM as a judge. So it increases the accuracy levels pretty high. So automating a ton of calls, automating a ton of workflows. So like the driver check call, whenever you sense a delay, or intaking an order, changing it and putting it into a different systems. These are all seamless these days. So whether it's improving route optimization and fueling leads, improving driver retention through better scheduling and communication, or an ultra specific problem to your business, the real value of AI comes from solving each enterprise unique problem, not just applying off the shelf generic models.
I think that's the kind of the most important part is that, you want it to be something that's customized to you and your organization. So that way it is something that, you can ultimately run with. But when it comes to like where you guys are seeing the most kind of demand for it, because you said obviously you want it as an organization, you want it to come in and solve one of the main problems that you're having. Where are you guys seeing that most commonly first, like that first step? Is it in operations or is it in maintenance or route optimization or safety, driver retention? Where are you seeing those like kind of those first wave trends?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Mary. So, as we speak with enterprise customers, it varies business by business. Majority of these workflows are heavily driven by operations teams. So, that's the first place we start because operations is the bread and butter as well as the critical center for supply chain and logistics to function. So, within operations, there are multimodal agents with ETAs, safety, as well as just taking order information and spreading it within multiple systems. And then lastly, taking the entire life cycle of this order end to end is billing and invoicing, document collection and uploading, like you mentioned, BOL, POD, being able to scan, extract data and upload it with extremely high levels of accuracy is some of the things that we come across on a day to day basis. But the thing that is most common across the board is just the prevalence of disparate systems across each of these companies. So many of them operate on multiple systems, have data residing everywhere. So there's a lot of manual effort where you have to push data and also make decisions based off of it. So to send a fuel recommendation to a driver every day based on the routes they drive is significant amount of work. So once we integrate those systems together and then create a base platform where any of these agents can be deployed, things become easier and more scalable for these enterprises.
So I think that that's something that it's kind of refreshing to know that that's a problem that happens across all organizations is that everything it's hard to get those systems to talk to each other and to make those decisions like with each other, like just kind of combine all of that information so you can make a decision because you have all the data and it's just a matter of getting it in the right spot for you to be able to make those recommendations and to make those actionable insights. But when you talk about scaling AI, what exactly do you mean by that in the context of this of an enterprise fleet? Like what does scaling look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Scaling AI means deploying across multiple processes and teams, not just running one pilot. So it could mean automating coding across 500 reps instead of five for your inbound customers, or making your entire customer service function enabled with AI, answering questions about ETA from customers or drivers. It is about deploying a fuel efficiency program across your entire fleet with thousands of vehicles and drivers. So, talking about drivers who are one of the most important stakeholders here, it's about making sure they have someone to call 24 by 7 and get help when they break down or have a critical event. And this is, thousands of them. So, there are thousands of stakeholders here, millions of interactions on any given day, and it means having your AI agents work seamlessly with your workforce, right? So, how to pick up where they leave and how to measure outcomes and how to change manage become critical questions that we see enterprises have to deal with and that we work with actively. And then scaling is also about integrating AI into the systems you already use. So a TMS, an ERP, a telematics, or a fuel program. So it works across geographies, departments, stakeholders, systems, and partners without creating silos. So truly, an enterprise grade scale means thinking through all these end to end and planning ahead and creating a program in order to launch something at scale.
I think that makes a lot of sense because you hear a lot of like pilot programs that are out and about now. And that's because obviously you don't want to turn it over too quickly. You don't want to say, okay, well, we're just going to upset the apple cart, do everything all in one time. But if you have those pilot programs, you say, okay, this worked, this didn't work, this worked, this didn't work. And you do have to expand out because you can't just say, okay, this worked for this one tiny part of the company and we're not going to do anything else. We're just going to sit here with it. Because that's not the whole point of it. You know, that's not the point of the automation of having these tools there to help you, you know, be more successful. You can't just say, well, we did a pilot and it went well and then just like let it die, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Scale is very critical to deploying AI. Um, that's why you do pilots to ultimately think about rolling things out. So, definitely something that we've seen enterprises have top of mind. Their IT stakeholders, CIOs are thinking heavily about it.
All right. So, Deepti, sometimes we have all these great, fantastic things that are coming in, and AI is coming in and going to solve all these problems. But as we mentioned earlier, you know, it's a tool that can improve efficiency. But then also, what do you do with those teams that is improving? I would, in a perfect world, I would like to say, well, we just retrain them and reskill them for something else. However, I understand that that's not necessarily always the case or how it's projected, or that doesn't necessarily assuage people's fears. So, it does like this implementation of AI does feel like a threat to job security. When it comes to implementing it within your organization, how do you kind of manage the change of saying this is going to be an improvement, this is going to help automate things while also kind of assuaging those fears that it's just going to come take everyone's jobs?
Yeah, that's a great question and very topical. However, I'd like to start it off with saying that we humans are remarkable. We've not only survived but thrived over the industrial revolution, the age of internet, moving to the cloud, using smartphones, and we will do the same with AI. And also, most of these operational workflows currently are done sporadically or with tremendous amount of effort. So, like the fuel use case and recommendations that I mentioned, or responding to customer calls in a timely manner, it's fairly manual. So, when deploying AI, it's all about positioning AI as an assistant, not as a replacement. We always focus on showing employees that AI takes on the tedious work, chasing documents, filling forms. So we as humans can focus on higher value tasks. For example, one customer used Boon to handle inbound customer requests, so dispatchers can spend more time solving exceptions. So humans still have the context of the business and are the best position to tackle relationships and so on. But at the same time, now with AI assistants coming in, you need to take care of change management. So, how to have these AI workers seamlessly work with us side by side by enabling us to be 10x more productive. So, enterprise AI providers need to give you the ability to check your assistant's work through logs, assign your assistant to new tasks easily, and help guide you to make better and informed decisions. So, we at Boon do this with clear agentic workflows that have a handoff to a human and provide user interfaces that fit into our customers' natural modes of work that they can review and, more importantly, be able to track how much work your AI workforce has performed on any given day. Our Agent Studio helps enterprises create and spin off agents with no code, seamlessly integrating with their existing systems and interfaces as well. And lastly, our conversational interface, Pulse, enables them to ask any question on all of their data across every system. So we spend a lot of time thinking about human experience at Boon when using AI and continue to carefully think about it and partner with our enterprise partners to build better experiences, innovate with them on a constant basis.
I think you touched on one of the really important things there, and that is change management. Anytime you're doing something in an organization, whether it is introducing AI or if it is introducing a new TMS of some sort, it's like having no change management plan, which is something that a lot of organizations I find could use some improvement in those areas. Having no change management plan to me just seems like a recipe for failure and heartache and just a lot of unhappy. It's a really good recipe to lower morale and make people feel really bad. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. You like absolutely change management is part of it. Setting those expectations, saying, "Hey, this is very clearly what we're doing, what our plan is, and where we're going with this," and get that buy-in early. Don't just say, "Hey, this is happening. You better be grateful that we're automating things," because that's just not going to work out.
Absolutely. Yeah, change is so hard to do. And then, especially when you're onboarding an entirely new workforce, you need to make sure your team is prepared.
Absolutely. So, Deepti, we are about out of time today. If someone has questions about maybe how they could scale up AI at their organization or any other thing that we've talked about today, where can they find you outside the summit?
Yeah, I know there are a lot of questions about AI and things are changing literally every day. So anyone is free to shoot me questions on LinkedIn or email me at deepti@getboon.ai. I'm more than happy to set up some time and have a conversation about where things are headed or discuss how you can best leverage the tech in your org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned for the rest of the summit. We have some amazing content coming your way.